Hello and welcome to Take the Lead Presents Virtual Happy Hour. We're glad you're here. I'm Gloria Felt, co-founder and president of Take the Lead. We host virtual happy hours on the second Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We interview women who take the lead in their own lives and careers. So you have 1 hour once a month to boost your career. It's a quick, easy, and fun way to learn what other smart, interesting role model women are up to too. Please tweet your questions to @TakeLeadWomen or type them into the chat box. We want to hear from you and we'll get those questions answered. Take the Lead's mission is nothing less than leadership gender parity by 2025. Visit www.taketheleadwomen.com to find training programs for yourself and your organization. You can also find mentoring, coaching, role model events, and great content to help you on your journey. That's www.taketheleadwomen.com. Now, make yourself comfortable. Grab a cocktail, a mocktail, tea, coffee, glass of water, whatever you like, and sit back for an inspiring virtual happy hour. Welcome everybody. Happy September. I'm Gloria Felt, co-founder and president of Take the Lead. And you may have noticed that we started a little later today. There seems to be something in the ether today with all of the technology. So we're thrilled that you're here. We're thrilled to get started. I can't wait to introduce you to our incredible guests today. My usual co-host, Reshma Gopaldas, sends her regrets because she is in the midst of She Media's Blog Her conference and just couldn't be with us tonight. So I'm flying solo. And that means that all of you who are watching and listening, you're going to have to really help me out by chatting in your questions or tweeting them to @TakeLeadWomen, and you can start now because we're gonna have a great conversation tonight. At Take the Lead, we're always in learning mode, and September we think about starting to school and learning new things, and so this virtual happy hour is all about start fresh, how you can learn new skills as an entrepreneur. With our two dynamic entrepreneurs as guests, we will dive right into how to think like an entrepreneur, identify what skills you need to have to launch a successful enterprise, and figure out where your idea fits into the marketplace. Our mission at Take the Lead is to reach gender parity in leadership positions across all sectors by 2025, and certainly female entrepreneurs who build important companies that solve problems and build wealth and provide us with all the things that we need are critically important to our mission. Now, just a little bit of backdrop before I introduce our guests. 4 of every 10 US businesses are owned by women, with female-led businesses having grown a spectacular 58% from 2007 to 2018, and women of color are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs. Businesses owned by women generate $3.1 trillion in revenue, but there is a persistent funding gap for women-owned ventures, even though the data shows that these businesses actually do better financially than male-owned startups. So we will dive into all of those things. Be sure to stay till the end of this conversation, though, so you can get our special free download of resources that we've put together for you, with resources and skills for entrepreneurs called Learning New Skills as an Entrepreneur. So excited to be able to share that with you later in the show. Just be sure you stay tuned. So let me introduce our 2 amazing guests. All right. Denise Lee. Hey, Denise. Hi there. Denise is CEO and founder of Alala. I got to tell you, I love this activewear, the modern activewear brand that she launched in 2013 and is now available in more than 100 retailers, including my personal holy of fashion holies, Neiman Marcus. Denise is a triathloner. She grew up in Hong Kong. She attended the New York University Stern School of Business for graduate school. And she has a really interesting track record in finance and high fashion and retail. And worked as a VP at Birch Creative Capital and all kinds of things. So can't wait to hear more about your story in just a moment, Denise. Welcome. And oh, by the way, I just want to say thank you for your support of Take the Lead's podcast and for our recent 5-year anniversary event and silent auction. Denise gave a wonderful gift of a shopping party at her New York pop-up store. And I got to tell you, it was the hot item. It was the hot item. So I can't wait for that to happen. So welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
Our second amazing guest tonight has a huge vision for disrupting the $20 billion nail industry. That's billion with a B. Heli Prilliman, founder and CEO of Laquerbar. Heli is a lifelong nail art enthusiast who encountered major issues in the nail technician industry, both as a customer and as a nail tech student herself in beauty school, and she decided to do something about it. In addition to creating what she calls the first feminist nail salon, I can't wait to hear more about that, she has also created an online education platform, Laquerbar U. Prior to launching Laquerbar, Heli was a founding team member at 5 Stars, which was recently listed as one of the top 100 Y Combinator companies. She helped scale the company to over 50 million users in her 5 years at 5 Stars. The number 5 keeps popping up here. That seems to be kind of a critical stage in businesses and certainly in Take the Lead's life, it is. So I welcome you both, and I have a first question that I always like to ask every guest, because I know that people who are with us as participants tonight always want to know, what's your backstory? Well, how did you get to be you? And if you can please answer that in 2 minutes or less, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So Denise, can we start with you?
Yeah, certainly. So I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and my parents are both entrepreneurs and had worked for themselves. And so I think from a very early age, I was encouraged and always had that in me to start my own business. Through my career in marketing and investing and stuff, you know, I really kind of came across the idea for Alala while I was training for a triathlon. It grew out of a personal need for me to, you know, want to express my style in activewear in a way that really wasn't in the market at the time, like for someone who loved fashion and retail. And it was just it was an industry that was very run by big companies, and there wasn't anything in the market that I really responded to. And so that was the start of the idea for Alala, which today is a women-led and women-run team. We have 13 women on the team, and we are bootstrapped to date. And so we've been able to grow this business really organically and through, I think, both really great clothes, but also great messaging and supporting strong women throughout.
Well, and I know that you will get to this in a bit, but you know, it's going to be interesting to hear you talk about how you align your brand with causes that you believe in. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. Heli, what is your backstory? How did you get to be you?
Well, so I was, you know, prior to living, you know, so I grew up in Texas, you know, my dad was
fabulous, because I did too.
Oh, thank you. My dad was is a small business owner, and but he also was an undocumented immigrant from Mexico, worked on a farm. So come from very humble beginnings. But I moved after college, went to Texas A&M, moved to the Bay Area to help start 5 Stars, that tech company that you mentioned earlier. And so that was in 2011, was there for 5.5 years, helped build out that company. And while I was there, I just really I've always liked getting my nails done. And I was really unhappy with the current salon experience that existed today. And so originally the intent of the company was to try to build this kind of dry bar-esque, soul-cycle-y kind of empowering nail salon experience for consumers. But once I quit my previous tech job and enrolled in beauty school to become a nail technician, I saw this way bigger issue where these beauty schools just don't have any focus on nails. It's mostly hair, and these schools are super predatory as well. And they're teaching you things from the 80s that are not applicable anymore. and students, especially nail technicians who are typically lower income, Black and brown communities, Vietnamese immigrants, first gen, first gen folks, and they leave these schools in debt. They are getting paid horrific wages and are just typically just taken advantage of. And so to have a functioning salon, you have to have, amazing workers. And we kind of saw that there was just this huge disconnect, and how the reason you haven't seen a massive nail salon chain that's really successful is because it's a worker issue. You have a lot of people who there's just no focus on educating and also giving nail technicians the tools to build their own businesses, make living wages, and do the amazing nail artistry that is in demand these days. And so while so many people are spending so much money on nails, it all depends on the worker. And so for us, we want to give those opportunities to nail technicians via our online education. And eventually, our plan is to become the Paul Mitchell, but for nails. So we'll have our salons, we'll have our schools, our online education, and really be the advocate for the nail technicians, not only in the United States, but globally. So yeah.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. So Denise, according to the Small Business Administration, only about half of small businesses survive past the 5-year mark. So you've made it past there.
Yay!
Yay! What convinced you that you were ready to launch Alala? Because it's not like people couldn't buy athleisure wear of some kind, right? It is a pretty crowded market. I'm imagining it was a pretty crowded market. You may tell me something different, but what skills did you need to focus on in order to make it work at that time?
Yeah, so when I started, athleisure wasn't a word. It was just kind of the same old big companies putting out the same old things. And so, I think one of the things that really convinced me to start was spending 9 months, really researching the vision for what I had for Alala, and really making sure that there was a white space in the market for us to enter. So I did that while I was working for my old boss for 9 months, kind of on the side. And, after kind of doing the research, I really felt like there was a space for a fashion forward, strong, women powered kind of activewear line. And, when we launched Alala, that was literally the few months where athleisure became a word, where everybody started talking about this new wave of activewear that came about. And so I think, I timed it really well in the market, and definitely today it's a very different space than it was, 5-6 years ago when we launched. But I do think spending time researching your idea before you jump right into it, is a really important part of the process.
Not easy, but.
Yeah, not easy at all. And I think, more than a skill, I feel like it's that perseverance and tenacity, and, that sense that you're just going to figure it out no matter, whether what you're doing or not. That's really key to, any entrepreneur starting their business.
Yeah, what do they say? 90% of success is showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Oh, thank you. Heli, a new Boston Research Group report shows that if female entrepreneurs were given the same funding and support as their male counterparts typically receive, the global GDP could add up to $5 trillion to the global economy. Now, startups founded or co-founded by women generated 10% higher cumulative revenue over a 5-year period compared to those started by men. You would think that would be enough to help you get the funding that you need. So I'm really curious to know, how have you personally succeeded despite those disparities? How have you been able to fund this big vision that you have so quickly?
Yeah, so real talk, fundraising has been out of like just so hard in general. I'm not saying it can't be done, because it can be. And we have successfully raised to date 500K. And we're in the process of trying to close our $1 million seed round. So I'm still fundraising right now. The reason I'm in my car right now is because I was on a call that took 30 minutes longer than I thought, because they were just like, you know, just digging into numbers. We were just discussing, you know, so it went well. It went great. It was a great call.
I just want to know, did you get them to yes? That's what I want to know.
We're almost there. We're almost there. So it was a really great call. But in general, it's been tough. And like, the thing is you like, and it's frustrating when you see companies that are clearly won't be $1 billion company, and a lot of startups are like making tools for just themselves, like tools for other startups, and it's like they're not thinking bigger, and they're also not thinking about what women are paying for, what like women are spending, like the spending power that women have, and also people of color have. So, and when you have so for instance, like Laquerbar and Laquerbar U, we're a very like feminist focused brand, very girly. We have a lot of, you know, it's not something that a older white male, who, again, the majority of these firms are led by older white males. It's not something that they connect to. They don't know the beauty industry. And the thing is like, VCs are human beings. Like, just like you get excited about something that you connect with, when they don't connect with it, it's hard to get them. Like, you can throw numbers at them all day, but a lot of times they're still going to go with how they feel about it, right? And so there's just that inherent bias against women-based companies and companies that are building things for women. So it's tough. I mean, like, straight up, like, people, the way that we've survived it is by, you know, we've had to get creative with funding. We've had to also, like, because a lot of these, like, you know, women-ran businesses, we have to bootstrap. We have to find ways to make money now. Like, we don't have the luxury of, oh, hey, we'll make money eventually. Like a lot of these other companies who just get money dumped on them because they're white males. We don't have that luxury. So women are building businesses that are actually producing revenue so much faster because we don't have the option of getting money handed to us via investment. So you have to work harder. You have to really, like, know your numbers, and you have to be finding ways to make revenue at every corner that you can. And so, and as quickly as you can, because it's hard. And so, I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying it's not possible, because it can be done, but just know that that's kind of what you're up against. So yeah, I mean, it's, the way we've made it work is by constantly, like, making money, like, you know, producing revenue, producing traction. But then also, when it comes to, because a lot of people will say, like, hey, it's a numbers game. How many investors can you get in front of? That's just not the case for most female founders in general, because you have to be selective to know that, hey, and understanding, like, where the investors themselves and their personalities and otherwise, and things that they've invested in before, so that you know that, like, it's like picking the people who are more likely to connect with you and connect with your business, to give yourself a better chance, right, of success. And so we've been very strategic on who we reach out to, who we try to get warm intros to, and not waste time with people who we know are likely never going to get it.
Right. Great advice. Yes. Yeah.
Time is precious, especially when you're trying to run a company and raise money at the same time. So every moment counts. And so be very strategic on who you're trying to get money from. And also, as hard as it is, because a lot of times we don't have the luxury of being like, I want to be really selective with who my investors are. As much as you can, like, avoid investors that you have any kind of red flags with. Like I had an investor we were talking to for a really long time, and they made a kind of joke that was like, it was small, but it was like a little sign of, like, I don't think long term this is gonna work, just based on like their I guess inherent bias in general. Like, so I'll just tell you what happened. Like, specifically, they made like some kind of joke about nail salon workers in general.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a reputable firm, and they've, you know, invested in very reputable companies. And like, as much as like you are desperate for money to like get, you know, to build your business, you want to be careful, because these are people that you will be working with for a really, really long time, and that you will be very close with. And so that's also something else to be thinking about if you're trying to raise capital, who your investors are and their values, and do they align with yours, and what your company's bigger vision is.
Great advice. I'm gonna go to Denise here. Denise, you mentioned that you did a lot of research at the beginning. What are the top 3 questions that I guess any entrepreneurs, but especially female entrepreneurs, should ask themselves before they jump off and into the deep end of entrepreneurship? What are really important questions that you would suggest?
I think there's a couple things. One is just like, is this a viable business, right? So you have to kind of think about how big your market is, like what difference are you going to bring to the market? How much money does that take to, you know, kind of get your business off the ground? I think those are things that, you know, you should definitely figure out for yourself as a business owner, and like really put even a very simple business model together for yourself, especially if you're going to go out and raise money from other people. Like, those are the big questions that they're going to be asking, from like a conceptual standpoint. I think, you know, what problem does this solve? How big can this company get? You know, what's our potential? Those are really, really important kind of foundational questions. And then I think it's kind of looking at yourself too, you know, and like, what's my skill set? Where can I excel and get an advantage doing this business versus somebody else? And so for me, it was a lot about, you know, I grew up in retail. My dad, he used to own factories that make clothing. So I knew that side of the business. You know, I worked for fashion houses before I started my own business. I worked for a really successful entrepreneur, and so who started retail businesses. So I had a foundation in making clothes. I had a foundation in understanding how to build a brand and, you know, launching a retail business. And so for me, like, it gave me a lot of like the comfort factor to know that at least I knew a little bit about something, you know, like I do hear stories about people who kind of like jump into it blind and learn everything as they go. But I think like in this environment where, you know, especially if there's competitors in the market already, and, you know, it's just so challenging, and time is really your best friend. Like, I wouldn't be able to start an app company, or I wouldn't be able to start a tech company because I have zero experience in that area, you know? And so I think you have to really also be true to yourself and your passion and your skill set and your experience to say, okay, like, can I really make a go of this? Or is it just really just a dream, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think you've given some people some really good advice. And by the way, folks, please notice in the chat box, we have put social media handles and websites and names of our guests, so to help you find them if you want to. And we'd really love for you to be tweeting and sharing and posting and sharing your thoughts and ideas. And remember to put your questions into the chat box or tweet them to Take Lead Women. And we do have some questions here. So I want to ask one question, because we are almost at the halfway point, but I'm going to ask one question and ask you each to answer it really quickly, which is, this is from Yolanda. She says, I'm thinking about starting a business. How do I even know what I don't know? How do I start? So quick answer to that. Heli, what would you say?
Look at businesses that are similar to yours. Maybe they're not the same industry, but they have similar business models. So basically, like, let's say that you're starting let's just say, a veterinarian company. Look at other companies that, are similar in that industry, or also if like, or just in general, just something similar, so that you're able to kind of model after it.
What about you, Denise? Where would she start?
I think that's a really good question. I think thinking through just the process of what that business is, are you bringing a product to market? Like, let's say you want to build a new, hair dryer. Can you kind of wrap your head around at least the big steps of how to get that done, right? Like, okay, like who's going to design it? Who's going to make a prototype? Like, do you kind of know at least a little bit, or are you comfortable with kind of the big steps of that process to be able to execute, your business idea? I think is really important, because if you don't even have comfort, I feel like, in like understanding the big areas of what you need to accomplish to get that idea to market, like there's so many other like smaller things that you're never going to know, and that's fine. But I think to really have a good grasp of like the big elements of what you want to accomplish is important.
And do you have to know it all yourself? Or
no.
How do you find that expertise if you don't have it?
I think being really humble, and asking a lot of questions. Like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to, like, if you make something in China, like how do you get it from China to New York? Like, and it was just being resourceful and being able to ask other people like silly questions, that you really like find that people are very willing to help you as well.
That's great advice right there. People are willing to help. I find that all the time, and I think that's true in anything that you're trying to do. People really are very helpful most of the time. So we are at the midpoint of the show, where I get to remind you that I'm Gloria Felt. I'm co-founder and president of Take the Lead. Our guests this virtual happy hour, September virtual happy hour, are Denise Lee, CEO and founder of Alala athleisure wear, and Heli Prilliman, founder and CEO of Laquerbar. And they are giving us all kinds of great advice from their own experience in starting their companies and becoming amazing entrepreneurs. I want to be sure that you stay to the end of our conversation so you can get access to our special free download of resources and skills for entrepreneurs that we've put together for you. It's called Learning New Skills as an Entrepreneur, and we'll give you the link at the end of the program and show you where you can get it. Also, hop on over to taketheleadwomen.com today and every day for free resources, access to women's leadership programs that will help you break through barriers to get to the career of your highest intentions, and help your organization also to reach its diversity and inclusion goals. I just want to say that I cannot encourage you too strongly to check out our 50 Women Can Change the World programs. These are the most intensive and immersive programs that we offer, and we have them in various different sectors. And if you don't see your sector there, I want you to email me personally at gloriafelt@taketheleadwomen.com and tell me what you would like us to provide this incredible training to. We just finished a section for female journalists, and I am reading their evaluations 3 months out, and the wins that they have had and the advances that they have made in their careers is just, they're heartwarming. I don't want to take up this whole program telling you about all of them, but I could definitely. And the next one that we will be doing will be 50 Women Can Change the World in Healthcare, and we'll be doing that in Phoenix, Arizona. The date that is currently set is October 29th and 30th. So if you're in any aspect of the healthcare industry, and it even remotely interests you, healthcare is one of those industries where women are 80% of the workers and men are 80% of the top leadership. So we gotta like equalize that. And this is the program that will help you do that. Participants have said things like it's jet fuel for their careers. So take a look at it and let us know if you'd like to participate in the program. Also, companies that are committed to gender equality can sponsor these programs and align themselves with a Premier Women's Leadership Program and get incredible benefits. And or we can bring that program inside and help you develop your female leadership pipeline. So any way you want it, we want to help you, because our mission is leadership gender parity, as you know, by 2025. So that's my unpaid political commercial. And let me get back to our guests. Heli, what have you learned about launching from that idea place that we were talking about just a moment ago? What was the biggest surprise that you had as you were launching, going from your idea to marketplace? What was the biggest surprise that you had that you would like to let other women know about?
So let's see. I mean, so I guess there was like a cup, depending on the stage of the company, right? So like right when I originally left my tech job to like, you know, go into building Laquerbar, like the salon side.
Show us your nails. You just got to show us your nails. I'm sorry. I got to stop you long enough. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I just had to have you do that.
Yeah. So yeah, basically at that point, like the surprising thing for me is like when I left my job and I enrolled in beauty school, and that's how the other idea came about, right? So it's like realizing that I was surprised at how horrific beauty schools for nail technicians are. So like that was like surprising, and that's kind of what generated the next idea, right, of like building Laquerbar U and trying to change the education system there. But I guess the other thing that was surprising, as we've like grown and now we have like our Laquerbar U, like our first programming out and like in the marketplace, you know, and we still have our Laquerbar salons and stuff. I guess some of the surprising things is just the support from other, like just people in the nail industry. For us, that was surprising. Not to say that like it was more of, because we didn't have any money to like really market this thing. It's been, you know, we just try to make something really great and just use our social media, and then to start getting recognized in the bigger nail community as quickly as we did, that was surprising. I think it just more of just goes to show that you can market something, you can throw lots of money at ad spend and otherwise, but it really comes down to what you're building and is it a good product or not? And is it something that people love and are willing to talk about and are excited about? So to spend, it kind of reinforced in our head that the importance of building something really great, and then having people who it really resonates with, right? And so some people like try to spend so much money on building an amazing website, or you know, spending money on branding and all these, like, but if what you're like actual, like your service offering, your product or whatever is crap, it won't matter. And so I think just like it just reinforced in our head again once we started getting like just more embrace from the nail community. It just reinforced that in my head, because again it was like so fast. Like we got featured this month in Nail Pro magazine, which is the industry nails magazine that matters, like really like the only reputable one. And I heard about it because somebody had the print magazine, opened it and saw that we were in it, and I had, because I don't have money for PR. Like I don't have money for, you know, like we, you know, those are things that we just don't have money to do right now. And so the fact that like people are already talking about us in the nail industry, it was just really cool. So I was surprised, but
getting the word out is really important.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Denise, Vanessa has a question. A friend told me about an incubator project with the local library that funds small businesses and helps with startups in tech. Should I apply, or would someone steal my idea? Kind of an
This is such a good question. This is such a good question. So the short answer is yes, you should apply, and you shouldn't care if anybody steals your idea, because at the end of the day, like I think Laura, you said before, it's really all about execution, right? The idea, 1,000 people can have the same idea, but honestly, not, maybe less than one person is actually going to execute on that and execute on it well. Mm-hmm. So 100% you should do it. I've seen it so many times. I used to work for an entrepreneur. We would take meetings with young brands every single day. So I've seen, idea after idea after idea. And I could tell you that, there's really no reason why I would want to steal any of those ideas. And like, I think that is a fear and that a lot of people have. But I really think it's like one of those very unfounded fears. Like nobody should be scared to share their ideas. And I think the more people you share your idea with at any stage, even if it's just, what came into your mind today, the easier it is for you to refine that idea. People are going to ask you questions about what it means or how you are thinking about going about it. And those questions are going to be really helpful for you to refine your ideas, because those are probably questions you're going to have to answer yourself anyway.
I love that because it's very in keeping with one of the principles that we teach women at Take the Lead in our programs, which is that there isn't a finite pie. There isn't a finite pie of any of the things that are really important in an economy that's based on ideas and brains and not brawn anymore. There isn't a finite pie, and we can make more pies, and women are great at making more pies, and you can try to hold something close to your vest, but as one of my mentors used to say, information leaks. So even if you try to keep it a secret, it's probably pretty hard. There's probably somebody who's thinking the same thing somewhere down the line.
Yeah. So, I even have like another piece to add to that. Like 100% agree. The other thing is that it is all about execution, but it's also like people can come and try to copy you for sure. That will happen. Like it will happen. Just know in your head, if you're building something amazing, someone's going to come after it. And it's your responsibility as an entrepreneur to always be thinking about what's next, how to innovate, what's the next big thing, so that you're constantly ahead of the curve. So like at my previous company at 5 Stars, there were tons of people trying to build what we were building at 5 Stars, which is like basically in the early days, it was like a digital punch card. It was a reward system that you don't have to carry a punch card around. People just, you can track it all online at all these different small businesses. Tons of people were starting companies that were doing that. But we were doing it in a different way. Okay, we were doing it based on phone number, not email. So it was easier for people to sign up. And then after that, like, okay, like as people started to copy that model, then we're like, okay, how can we send out text messages? Since we have the phone numbers, we'll make it automatically send text messages on the business's behalf. And then once that happened, other people started to copy. So it's like, you got to be thinking about what's next. What's the next big thing? Because people will try to copy you. But again, it's all about execution, and it's about thinking about how you're going to innovate to stay ahead.
I'm going to guess that the two of you have very vibrant personalities too. And I always say the world turns on human connections, and that there is also a lot to the ability of a founder of an entrepreneurial company to be able to actually connect with the public, connect with the potential funders, and connect with just in general with people, and to enjoy that kind of connection with people. I have more questions here, so I want to be sure to get to as many as we can. I work full time, and I'm doing a fitness coaching business at night and on the weekends. How do I know when I'm ready to quit my full-time job that has benefits? That's from Teresa. I know, Denise, that you said you started thinking about Alala and working on it before you left your full-time employment. Maybe you have some insights to that.
Yeah, I definitely think, it's a process, and I wouldn't quit my job without any kind of a safety net, because when you start your own business, you're really not making money for a while. And so I think on a very practical level, you have to really consider, can you just keep going doing this until maybe you start actually making enough revenue in your fitness coaching business that you can quit your full-time job. I think like financial stress is no joke. So, you know, as much as you can lessen the pressure on yourself to, you know, for financial like independence, it's really, 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 really important. And I'm fortunate in my own situation that like I have support from my family. Like when I decided to quit and start Alala, but I know for a lot of people that's not the case. And so as long I think as you can like do both and start saving money, being really like careful. I don't know what the actual statistic is, but you definitely need, I think, like 6 months or like a year's worth of like living expenses kind of saved up before, you know, you should, I guess not should take the leap, but like that you could feel comfortable doing that. Just because the success isn't always so immediate. And, you know, I feel like expenses also creep up, you know, in different ways. So from a very practical standpoint, that's what I would say.
Yeah, right. So Heli, a question here from Felicity. The community college near me offers courses in small business startups. Should I take one? Because I have an idea I want to work on. So, you know, what's the ratio that you need to have between just go do it and learn about how to do it? I have to say, I always say I never knew how to do any job I ever did before I did it. So I tend to err on the side of just go do it first and then figure the rest of it out. But it's a great question because there are a lot of courses, there are a lot of places where women can get information. What do you think a woman should do if she's thinking about she has an idea and she doesn't know how to start executing it?
Any education that you can find that will talk about it is great. I mean, obviously, like here's the thing. Go to as much stuff like, you know, that's available, but at the same time, you could be going to so many things and you never actually just take the leap and do it. It will never feel like the right time, or you'll never feel like you'll actually know enough to do it. You're just going to have to eventually just take that step and just go for it. Obviously, like, you know, like she said before, just, you know, make sure you have at least like six months to a year of like runway where you can, like, if you take the plunge and if you're like not having a job behind it, or, you know, or any kind of like support money coming in anywhere. But yeah, like, cause I think that even as I like am about to do, like, for instance, for the Laquerbar U thing, I feel like I was like trying to like learn so much about, you know, just how I would do it and all that. Like, you could just get into the cycle of just constantly trying to find more information. You're not going to find the exact thing that's going to tell you for sure that your business is going to work or that you can do it or whatever. So don't go, like, definitely I encourage you to like take some, I mean, if there's stuff available in your area or online that's free to learn about how to build a business, that's great. But don't get into I'm trying to learn so much for months and months and months that you never actually take the step, because that first step will be a risk and it's scary, but you'll have to do it. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
As I talk with both of you, one thing really has hit me in this conversation. And for me, this is just one of the most important things that I would like for women who are already entrepreneurs or who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs to really focus on. You both have very big visions for where you want to take your companies. I often notice that women are more likely to start very small businesses where we're selling each other, you know, things that we might want to have, but we're not changing the world necessarily. And I observe that very often, that the intention and the vision is not like an Apple or a Microsoft or you know, something that is going to really change how people are living and thinking. And I see that both of you have very big visions for what you want to accomplish with your companies. What would you say to other women about that, about vision and intention? And let me go with you first, Heli, if you can be really quick, because we're getting close to the end and we still have some more questions from participants.
I think that both of those routes are very like respectable. Like, some people, you know, they want to build this bigger vision, have like a culture changing company. And I mean, there's a lot of pressure that goes along with that. There's a lot, I mean, it's a lot more work. You have a lot more people relying on you. You have a lot more scrutiny, and that for sure. So there, but obviously it's really rewarding as well to be like doing something game changing. At the same time, like, you know, having a small business, having a local coffee shop, having, you know, a candle business, or, you know, whatever it is, if that's what you're passionate about, the biggest thing behind is like, what are you passionate about? And what do you really genuinely care about? And can you make a living off of it, right? Put food on the table. And so both are great things to pursue, and there's not one that's better than the other. They're both important, and even as some people will start with something small and then come across a different thing, and then it becomes something bigger, or maybe they have a different idea down the line of something that they want to build. So you know, I think that the biggest thing behind is like, what are you passionate about? What really matters to you? What are your values? What, you know, and just making sure that, you know, you stand firm in those values, and like that you're passionate about. Those are the most important things. It's not like one is better than the other.
Great advice for life in general. What would you say to women about to encourage them to have a big vision for what they could accomplish? What's your biggest, boldest vision for Alala?
I think for me, it was always and will always be about having a brand that can build other women up. You know, we are a company for powerful women that happens to sell activewear. And for me, I was always very passionate about women's issues. I'm very passionate about empowering women. And so like that base for me is so much bigger and so much wider than like, I want to sell 1 million pairs of black leggings, you know? And so I think if you can also focus yourself on like the purpose and your mission, it sounds very like woo woo sometimes, but you know, I think it's a really important part of what your company and your brand stands for. And like, even talking to Heli for the first time today, like, I know what your vision is, you know, I know that you want to like change this whole entire like world of how, you know, nail technicians and nail salons are run. Like that's a huge vision, but I think it's grounded in like, you know, what you are passionate about, what you believe in. And, you know, even in my first job, like selling t-shirts at Armani Exchange, I was like, what's the meaning behind this? We're not curing cancer. So like, but there has to be meaning, right? And it was like, when someone wears that t-shirt, they feel a certain way. When someone wears Alala, they feel like a superhero. When someone goes to Laquerbar, they get the best manicure of their lives, you know, and they're treated like a human being, and they know that their nail technician is also treated like a human being. And so I think like, you need to think about the logistics of your business and how you're going to make money and all that stuff. But I do think like spending time thinking about what your purpose is behind that is important. And I think another important point really is that like, even if you impact one person, you make one person feel good about that experience that you gave them through your company. Like that's the most important starting point. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can want to impact 1 million women and change 1 million lives or whatever, but like it starts with one, and that is really important as well.
Beautiful. I love that. I mean, what I love about that and what both of you are doing is that, and I think that in my observation, it's something that women in particular are always looking for in their work, which is a purpose and a meaning behind it. And the fact that you have been able to put together, and both of you have been able to put together a really thriving business that is not only your passion, but is also a purpose that is helpful to other people as well. So you have to pardon me because, you know, I've been a do-gooder and a nonprofit leader my whole life. So I especially resonate with that point of view. But I think that often people think that entrepreneurs are just about, oh, what can I do to make a whole lot of money? And really, I think if I can sum up what I've heard from you too, from the two of you, it's that you find your purpose, you find what you're passionate about, you find where you think you can actually have a positive impact on the world, and then you just go for it. Yeah. and you make it happen, and you do all the things that are necessary to make it a successful business. But where you start is with your values and with your purpose. And I think that's just incredible, and an incredible message for people to have. So thank you so much for both of you for sharing it in the way that you did. So before we end, I want to make sure that people know how they can find you, find your companies, find your products. And although we have it and we'll be sending it out to people, I'd like for you all each of you just to tell people how you'd like people to find you and what you'd like to be able to provide them with. So Heli, how can people find you?
So you can find me personally on Instagram and Twitter. It's Hey, it's Heli. And then Laquerbar, we are focused on Instagram. So if you want to find Laquerbar and what we're doing, @LoveLaquerbar is what our Instagram handle is. Laquerbar right now is being sat on by like a spammer of some sort.
Wow.
There's like no pictures, no nothing, just some account. So yeah, on Instagram it's @LoveLaquerbar is our main account. And then obviously going to laquerbar.com, and every time you go to a nail salon, if when you're connecting with your nail technician, be like, hey, if you're ever looking for an advocate or a way to like make more money, or get a better, expand your skills, go to laquerbar.com/university. So just letting your nail technician know that there's somebody out here trying to change the industry for the better for them and provide them education and a way to make more money.
I'm going to remember that the next time I go across the street to my local nail salon where I get my nails done. Thank you. So Denise, how can people find you and Alala?
Yeah, so personally for me, I'm also on Instagram. It's Denise X Lee at, I guess that's it, Denise X Lee. And then for Alala, we are at Alala on Instagram and at alalastyle.com. So yeah, come check us out.
Fantastic. And what from each of you is the one big takeaway you would like to leave our audience with today? Your one big takeaway. Who wants to take that one first?
I can go. I think like one thing that, at least one piece of advice that I always like to share with like people who are thinking about starting their own business or like, are working their way up in their career. It's really about momentum. And this is something I learned from my old boss. He always used to say, it's better to make a quick bad decision than a slow good decision.
Oh, good advice.
So yeah, think about that. Does it make sense? Maybe, maybe not, but it's really about momentum and trusting your gut. So it just means that, if you trust your gut and you are confident in yourself, like the likelihood that you'll make a bad decision is pretty low. And even if you do and you make it quickly, you're able to pivot, change, do something new, learn from that mistake and move on. And like, I think really like the death of a lot of good ideas and a lot of like people who end up not starting their businesses is they're like afraid to make decisions. They're afraid to make the wrong decisions. And I think you should put that fear aside and really just go with it and ride that momentum forward. Do it.
Fantastic. So Heli, what's the big takeaway you want to leave with the audience today?
Like the one thing that always stuck out to me in general, as like advice that I got early on, like even before starting Laquerbar, whenever you're bringing on a team or even like bringing on a partner or an investor or just anybody that you're ever working with, if it's not an enthusiastic yes, then it's a no. So much like kind of like Denise was saying with her like go with your gut. So if you're ever going to work with somebody, whether it's someone you're hiring or somebody you're partnering with or any company that you're working with, whatever it is, if it's like a yes with a couple caveats or, hey, like they were so great, but they had this little thing that I'm not really sure, that means a no. You'll save yourself so much headache when it comes to people you're hiring, your team members, any kind of investor or company that you're working with or colleague, whatever it is. If it's not an enthusiastic yes, it's a no. So just something to always be keeping in mind, which is a lot like kind of like your gut. So yeah.
Oh, both great. So last lightning round here. What's the go-to song or quote that keeps you revved up even in the toughest times? Heli.
To be honest, okay, so I am a Christian person, and so the thing that there's a very specific Bible verse that's like, haven't I commanded you, be strong and courageous, for God is with you wherever you go. So in my head it's like Joshua 1:8 or 1:9, I can't remember, but it's just like, it's a command. It's like, be strong and courageous. Like, it's not an option, just do it. So like, be strong.
Before Nike had the slogan, huh? It was out there, right?
Yeah. Be strong and courageous. So it's like, okay, I have to be strong and courageous. So just got to do it.
So Denise, what's yours? Your
I feel like it's variations of like, you're a badass, you got this.
Fantastic. All right. I want to thank both of you so much for being with us, Denise Lee and Heli Prilliman. You are an integral part of Take the Lead's network of helping all women, all people move to gender parity by 2025. And we thank you and we love you for that. Go to our website, taketheleadwomen.com, to learn more about how we can help you and your organization achieve gender parity in leadership. And please be sure to share all of this with your friends and colleagues on social media. There was some great advice, great tips here tonight. So it will be on YouTube. We'll turn it into a podcast, and it's all over social media already. So please share. And don't forget to download your very helpful freebie resource, Skills for Entrepreneurs, learning new skills as an entrepreneur. And thank you so much, ladies. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
So nice talking with everyone. See y'all.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining Take the Lead Presents Virtual Happy Hour. Be sure to tune in again next month. Remember, it's the second Wednesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 1 hour, once a month, to boost your career. Until then, power to you.